Hello, it's Scott Manley here, back with Elite Dangerous, and a great discovery has been made in the game. In the remote system of Saint-Neuf XRH G11102, strange ruins have been discovered. What's even more interesting is the mechanism by which they were discovered, and this is going to seem rather meta, but with the release of Elite Dangerous Guardians, they put out a new trailer, and the trailer showed a spacecraft heading towards an unnamed planet in an unnamed part of the universe and finding these ruins. And of course, the players of this game, being incredibly resourceful and smart, tracked it down simply by matching the stars in the sky, the patterns on the planet, and what could be seen. It's around a small brown dwarf, a ringed brown dwarf, which is itself illuminated by a brighter primary star, which is over there. But you may notice, I'm now flying a new spacecraft. This is my Anaconda. Once upon a time, the Anaconda reigned supreme as the largest spacecraft in the Elite universe. It has, however, since been superseded by the Federal Corvette, the Imperial Cutter, and most recently the Beluga passenger liner. However, if you don't have the relevant Federal or Imperial rank, or you don't fancy playing Space Airline Pilot, the Anaconda is still an excellent spacecraft. Highly versatile, able to fit multiple roles, either as an Explorer Conda, Miner Conda, or even a Murder Conda. Anyway, Commander X Death was the first one to locate it, and the coordinates of the site are about -32, -129. And I'll have to say that in the Guardians update, they did add a compass at the top when you're flying in near orbit, so it's a whole lot easier to get these coordinates down correctly. One interesting thing about the Elite universe is if you find out, if you go sightseeing to one of these really interesting locations, odds are 50% of the time it will be nighttime when you get there. And since Elite is a real-time game, I would have literally had to hang around for a day for the sun to rise here. I do kind of wish I'd brought my ASP, because the ASP is much better in terms of visibility. But if you look there, that is the site we are looking for. There's a whole bunch of raised mounds and many angular, geometric objects here. They are clearly not natural occurrences. We don't know how they fit into the story. We don't know if they are something to do with the much talked about return of the Thargoids. We don't know if they are related to the barnacles or the unknown probes or the other unknown artifacts. What we do know is that everybody's been flying out here, and I decided to come out here not in open, because there's a lot of people out here that are literally just shooting other players down. And I'm not going to tell them how to play their game. Instead, I'm just going to play my game. But look at that, we have no idea what these are, so I sat down in the middle of it. There's a nice, large, flat area, sufficiently big for my ginormous Anaconda. And now it's time to take a drive in my SRV. You'll notice now as well that I have the fighter support in this, a fighter bay, because it's an Anaconda and it has enough room. So yeah, these are really interesting. I have no idea what these mounds are, but they're long and linear. There's definitely some sort of, I don't know if those are tunnels or entrances. Some have hypothesized that the linear terrain structures are in fact walls which have been eroded. Clearly, if they have been eroded, they have been made of different material than what the angular parts are, because they look in pretty good condition. And to be fair, this world has essentially no atmosphere. It has very low gravity. It should never have had an atmosphere, so how any erosion would have occurred is a serious question. I mean, all those human space probes on the surface of the moon, well, it will be well preserved for hundreds of thousands of years. Whereas the space probes on the surface of Venus, they probably won't be quite so well preserved just a few decades after their landing. Look at it, it's big, long, linear features. Quite wide enough for me to drive the SRV over. It looks like there's some sort of pillar with a blue light. There may still be energy in these aging ruins. I have no idea what these structures are, but they're clearly too small to have been buildings. At least buildings for a human-sized species. Who knows, maybe we're dealing with a whole alien race of midgets who like to breathe vacuum. I'm not really sure what the purpose of this is, whether it's some sort of ancient... Ooh, it still lives. Just been waiting for me for centuries, for millennia. We don't know. Look at it. It's like a big, tall, alien tuning fork with a big blue, shiny thing in it. Let's scan it. Ancient relic. Come on, let me know. Ancient relic detected. I knew that already. And we have something else here, an ancient urn. Uh-oh, ancient urn. I've seen Prometheus. I'm not sure I want to be messing around with this thing. Let's scan it anyway. Ping. It's an ancient urn. Can I scoop it? Oh, look, I can in fact scoop it. Now I just need to carefully move and grab it. Oh, yeah, try and sneak over this. Hopefully this cargo scoop is actually magnetic, and hopefully the urn itself is magnetic. And also hopefully that urn won't possess me and turn me into an alien. Oh, excellent, got it! But it has left its blue goop still on the surface. And we get another thing reaching towards the skies, awoken by my murmurings, awoken by my visit. Okay, I don't trust these things. I think I'm going to try to free them from their, well, rocky prisons. Surgically remove them with guns. Oh, wow, do you see the way that that disappeared and then reappeared momentarily? Like it looked like a 21st century graphics glitch? Clearly, it's not a graphics glitch. These have some sort of, cloaking capabilities or something. It couldn't possibly be a bug in the game. No, not at all. Okay. Exploring alien ruins, looking for ancient totems. They're all ancient, but I don't know how we know they're ancient. I mean, they're calling them ancient. I mean, unless they're doing like radionuclide dating on it remotely, I don't know how you do that. Ooh. More buildings up here, or more blocks. They're in surprisingly good nick, considering they're called ancient. Oh, that one. This one lives. Let's see what it can tell us about life in the alien obelisk world. Didn't mean to shoot it there, I really meant to scan you. Same for my anaconda. New data discovered. Encoded pattern beta obelisk data. That would imply that there is an alpha. So yes, there is much to see and many more mysteries to unlock, but since I arrived when it was night time, I decided that I would hang around for a while. Meanwhile, while I was waiting, I thought I would edit together the rest of what I'd been doing in the meantime. And the first thing I was doing was making lots of money through the magic of community goals. For example, in LFT 133, there was a community goal to kill things, or really to shoot things and hand in the bounties, so that you could improve the security of the area. So I employed my Vulture, which is a surprisingly fun spacecraft to fly. Quite easy for it to run rings around these poor anacondas, which had a lot of hard time drawing a bead on me. And when they did, I was able to move around, get out of their position. Oh, poor Nick. You just can't seem to draw a bead on my nimble little Vulture. And I'm gonna be clear, I haven't even applied any engineer upgrades to this ship. I've just been... this is a stock spacecraft with stock weapons and everything. That kind of explains why it's not perfect. I could absolutely optimize the Vulture to be a real killing machine, but it is a ship that offers amazing bang for the buck. Literally bang for the buck, or bangs and bucks. So yeah, community goals. If you have been... every time I post an Elite video, people are like, how come you have 100 million credits? How can I get that? I'm gonna tell you. do the community goals. So look, I shipped 21 tons of gold, and I made hundreds of thousands from the community goal. I shot a few spacecraft in the right system and handed in the bounties and got ranked on that. And then a few weeks ago, I paid a visit to Norman Mavis's Bingo Palace, which had several community goals going on in here. And again, just by delivering stuff and shooting stuff, look at the rewards. So, collected 12 tons of Lavian brandy, 8 million credits. Shooting some other spacecraft, 5 million credits. Helping with an Alliance outpost, okay, well that'll come and I'll get 5 million credits for that. So the great thing about the community goals is if you're not the kind of person that can spend hours and hours and hours every week playing this game, grinding it, you can drop in once a week at the weekends, you can do a couple of these goals, and you can walk away with, you know, millions of credits easily. And of course, as a bonus, it means you get to go all over the galaxy and visit interesting places like Norman Mavis's Bingo Palace, which presumably is the finest bingo establishment in the entire galaxy. And it looks like everyone has really interesting clothes here. Oh, look. Also making some money there. 15 million credits. Bang. Just like that. So, moving swiftly on, with the emphasis on swiftly, this is my Imperial Eagle, and I really decided that I wanted to make it go really, really fast, because this is a good ship for it. Last patch, they introduced enhanced performance thrusters. These are basically thrusters that are even better. They're designed for speed and speed only, not so much for turning. But of course, if you really have a need for speed, you need to engineer your drive. And right now I have access to Felicity Farseer, who offers up to level 3 drive tuning. I have her unlocked, and I believe at level 5 now, having dumped tons of exploration data on her. The level 1 mods are fun because they're really easy to have the materials for, and you know, the penalties are usually not that big, so you can tune it a few times and then hope for some good secondary effects. But of course the higher level mods need a lot more materials. So I kind of just stuck with a level 1 and took it out for a ride, just to see how fast this thing would actually move right now. With the lights on in the canyons, it cruises at a steady 424 and will boost up to about 595 under the right circumstances. But if I really want to get the best performance out of this, I'm going to need to unlock level 5 drive upgrades, and that will only come from a particular engineer called Ismail Palin. You may have heard of him. He was one of the scientists investigating the alien meta-alloys. Well, now, since engineers arrived, he has gone solo. And if you can get him to be your friend, then you can have the fastest spacecraft this side of the Orion Nebula. Of course, that is a quest unto itself. So right now I actually have access to 4 engineers, and I know about a few others, but I actually have to get proper invites from them. And to get the invites, that requires gaining alliances or gaining recommendations from certain factions. So we have Zachariah Nemo, who does frag cannons, Liz Ryder, who does missiles, and Marco Quint, who is part of an agent of Sirius Corporation, and Juri Ishmak. We don't have access to Ismail Palin because you only get access to him after you've made best friends with Marco Quint. Now, you learn about Marco Quint by being friends with Elvira Martok, but to actually visit Marco Quint, he lives in the Sirius system, so you need to be best friends with the Sirius Corporation because the Sirius Corporation locks down access to the Sirius system. So I did a ton of missions out at Sothis and Seos. That's nice because you can just go back and forth between 2 stations and stack up a ton of missions. And eventually I reached Allied status. Of course, Allied status isn't in and of itself sufficient to get the permit. You then need to actually get the permit mission. And you only get the permit missions if you're in a system that is close to the Sirius system. So I returned to the core, to Davy Dock in the Procyon system, and eventually got that mission to spawn. All this mission running took several hours to actually get the status and then get the mission that I need. But finally I get the necessary paperwork to allow me to enter the Sirius system and not be rejected by an Orstotskin border guard. Sirius system permit issued. You know, I was really happy at this because it took so long. So it was with great excitement that I charged my drive and then jumped through to the Sirius system to enter a new chapter of my quest to meet Mr. Palin and make him my bestest of buddies. I hear that his spacebar serves up the legendary meta-alloy martini. I mean, that's the real perk of getting level 5 access to Professor Palin. I do wish to land. So yeah, while I can get into the Sirius system, I don't yet know where Marco Quint is because he hasn't invited me. To get that invite, I need to continue talking to the Sirius agents, and eventually they will get me an engineer invitation contract. They're basically asking me to deliver data to Shade Horizons in some other system. So of course I load up my vulture with all that sweet data. That it's probably just gold embossed invitation cards that Marco Quint sends out, because frankly Marco Quint isn't that good of an engineer. He's kind of lousy. He doesn't give anything at level 5. He's primarily interesting because he's the only way to get to Professor Palin, and therefore the only way to get level 5 drive and thruster upgrades. I'm gonna say if you want to get frameshift upgrades at level 5, then you either have Felicity Farseer or Elvira Martok. And of course, if you want to rank up one of those, you should really start by ranking up Elvira Martok, because she's the one that gives you Palin. Felicity Farseer does offer others, but yeah, you know, you gotta make friends with all of these people. Your voice sounds so familiar somehow. There's also a handful of new engineers that have turned up in the latest update, the Elite Dangerous Guardians update, but I don't know which ones are worth hanging out with. I mean, the community is already working on adding them to the index and adding the requirements. This video is really focusing on how to get to Marco Quint first. So here we go, we're at Shade Horizons. Get a refuel, and somewhere in there is my mission board. There we go. Quick. Engineer invitation contract. And efficient work, Commander Scott Manley. Oh, she has an efficient hairstyle. Notice that? Yes, I think that's a she. Delia? That could be a she. Anyway, in my inbox, I now have an invitation from Marco Quint. He's looking for another true friend, no doubt, because let's face it, nobody is being friends with Marco Quint because of who he is. It's because of who he knows. So there we go. On the little moon, a little planet of Lucifer, orbiting a white dwarf star, Sirius B. That is where we are going, at least as soon as we can get the planet out of the way. 50-50 chance when you launch from a planet or a moon that the hyperspace destination is going to be on the wrong side. We really need, you know, tables of this, you know, sunrise and sunset tables for some of these places. Maybe we should ask for a feature for that, you know, where you'll just highlight a spot on the map, and then it'll tell you what time the star will rise and what time it will set. So you know whether it's worth going out to those alien ruins or that strange alien wreck or, you know, your favorite barnacle. And indeed your engineer bases. By the way, has anyone noticed that the engineers really like to set up their bases near giant craters? It's almost like they're somehow associated with cataclysmic events that blow holes in planets. Not saying that they're responsible, but there does seem to be a rather strong correlation. I mean, the lore tells us that the engineers have gone and hidden themselves on planets because they want privacy to work on all their, you know, things. I think it's more likely that they have been kicked out because of all the scary stuff that they work on that tends to explode and leave giant craters. Although Quint does seem to be on good terms with the Sirius Corporation, probably because he, as engineers go, he is one of the more boring ones. Here we go! Marco Quint is an ex-Sirius Corp tech guru. Such as his technical talent, he's allowed some latitude in what he works on. And what he's wanting is 25 modular terminals, an item which can only be got as a random reward from missions. So I guess I'm going to be running missions. I'm Scott Manley, fly safe.